All right, another episode here, another week, and another Survive and Thrive with CH Insurance and our pal Joe Convertino Jr. and another special guest. Joe, let's meet this week's guest.
Yes, thanks, Gomez and Lisa. Hope you're well. Fall weather already. Here we are.
Yeah, we made it.
We made it. We're into September. We're happy to have really no introduction. Rob Simpson, President, CEO of CenterState CEO. Welcome. Rob, we appreciate you being on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Kind of just to kick it off, talk about, we're talking about the theme of survive and thrive. Obviously the pandemic hit in March. Maybe talk about what you did with your staff. And then the second piece of that question, your mission for your members. As you know, CH Insurance, Galaxy, got a ton of members. And what changed for the members and in helping us during these times over the last 5 months?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think immediately for our team, I'm incredibly grateful. We have such an amazing group of individuals who get up every day and just work hard on behalf of our membership, work hard on behalf of the region. And over the course of the last 5 or 6 months, I couldn't have asked them to do more to try to respond to what is really an unprecedented situation. Those first couple of weeks were the most exhausting I've probably ever been through. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that were threatened in going out of business, laying off employees. The disruption to our economic system, which is what we work in every day, was profound. And even more proud, I think, is the way the communities pulled together. Neighbor helping neighbor, people stepping up, donating PPE in those early days. And now I think companies are finally at a point where they're able to look up over the horizon a little bit and understand that the economic disruption that we experienced back in March, April, May, when the economy was shut down, it was just the first wave of the challenge we're going to face. We're already seeing it into the fall of this year. We're expecting the fourth quarter, first quarter to be challenging as well. 2021 is going to be a continued challenge that businesses are going to have to fight through. And we're going to be in this fight for a while, but I know and believe in the stick-to-itiveness of Central New York. We have a grit and determination that is palpable, and we're going to get through this okay.
Good.
Rob, obviously, you guys have been around we were discussing offline beforehand, about 10 years now for CenterState CEO. The original mission, what is, for people maybe who aren't familiar with CenterState CEO, we are because we're part of it and we're involved in the downtown business community. But if you were to explain CenterState CEO to someone who wasn't aware of your group, how would you explain it?
Yeah, so we're the region's business leadership organization and Chamber of Commerce, put simply, and we have a very simple mission, and that's to create a place where business thrives and people prosper. And it's important that we talk about both things, right? This is about having a robust economy where businesses can operate competitively, but it's also about creating a community where people of all orientations, of races, that they have an opportunity to participate in that economy, and for Central New York to be a welcoming place for them. And, I think that this is, Central New York is one of the absolute best places to live in, not just in the country, but in the world. And I think we're on our way towards accomplishing that vision that we have for this region. A lot of work to do still. But, we don't have to look back too far. Immediately pre-pandemic, Syracuse was celebrating the best run that we've had economically in 40 years. And I have every confidence that working collaboratively with our elected officials, business community, not-for-profit leaders, we're going to get back there.
We will. Rob, staying on that note, economic activity, you've been leading the charge and positive with what we're doing. Talk a little bit about when someone does become a member, though, what are some aspects of membership privileges when they join CenterState CEO as we look to grow membership and keep membership for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different areas. I mean, certainly networking has always been a hallmark for the organization, helping businesses connect to each other, get their word out, market themselves. That's been something that I think is a hallmark of every Chamber of Commerce across the country and has been for hundreds of years. Moreover, I think we work really hard to try to be advocates for our members when they are facing hard times, they're struggling with a regulatory issue or a legislative issue. We're there at the city council, the county legislature, the state legislature, and in Washington, lobbying and advocating on behalf of business in our community. And I think finally is our, our one-on-one services. We can customize a set of work for members depending on what their specific needs are, whether they're trying to break into international markets. We've got an international trade expert that we work with who can help them through that, all the way up to working with companies right now on some of the most pressing issues that they're facing, issues of race and inequality in corporations and in our communities. And we've got a series of trainings that we have built and rolled out and are now delivering to a number of companies here in Central New York to really help them unpack those issues and think about how they as corporate citizens can be a part of the solution, and instead of perpetuating and exacerbating the inequality that exists.
Hey, Rob, can you look back and think of a couple of the big projects that you were working on right in the middle of March when all this happened and things got locked down and shut down that you're looking to pick up here as soon as you can? Is there any, like, one or two of the bigger things that you had on your radar there?
Yeah, I mean, I think right around the time of the shutdown, certainly one of the big projects that we at CenterState are undertaking is the expansion of the Syracuse Tech Garden. We've talked about the tech innovation ecosystem over the course of the last decade and how much more robust it's been. Companies like TCG Player and SpinCar and Plows and Mows, it's just exciting to watch in our community having this level of entrepreneurship. And we were going to put 2 floors up on top of the existing tech garden, which has been full, 100% occupied for the last 7 years, and really begin to build some additional capacity to service those companies. Obviously, the last 6 months has presented challenges to all major construction projects, but we're almost there. Our goal is to try to get that project up and running end of this year, beginning of next, and we're continuing to make progress on it. I think the other big project I would draw people's attention to was one of the biggest wins that occurred in the state budget this year for Central New York was the Syracuse STEAM School. I want to give credit to Mayor Walsh, County Executive McMahon, for Superintendent Jaime Alicea for championing that project. We're talking the first science, technology, engineering, arts, and math regional high school in all of New York State is happening right here in Syracuse. It's happening right in the old Central Tech building, one of the last vacant and underutilized buildings in downtown Syracuse. Going to create a premier showcase for kids to learn about what they need for jobs of the future, and we're going to do it right in the city. I couldn't be more excited about that. Getting that project up and running, I think, is something that I think all of our community should view as a critical priority.
Oh yeah, that'll be great for really all business, for especially downtown. I mean, to be able to maybe speak to those students, talk about boring insurance or different industries could be fun. Rob, some other things we read about, put the U in Syracuse. I know CenterState is there's a spinoff of a division, downtown committee, that falls under your umbrella, but people have read about put the U in Syracuse. I loved it. I couldn't get to the event the other day, but you had a great turnout. And what's that mission about, and how did that all come about?
Yeah, the Downtown Committee of Syracuse is an amazing organization. We're proud. They're co-located with us in our office. They're one of our partners, but they do incredible work. And this is just the latest example. The You Back in Syracuse campaign is about trying to restore confidence to people in being present in our community, getting out and coming back downtown. Just over the last couple of weeks alone, as I've gone into the office, I've noticed that there's a bigger presence back in the city. Back in February, March, as the weather was starting to, get warm again, the sun was coming back out, there's just this palpable energy in downtown that we've been working on as a community for the last 15, 20 years, right? Rebuilding our city into something we could all be proud of. And we've gotten there, and then everything shut down, understandably so. And so here we are wanting to try to remind people of what that downtown is that they knew back in February, March. Remind them that it's okay to go out and shop and get takeout at your local restaurants and visit, your local establishments, get your hair cut, do your shopping. That's part of what makes this community amazing. And we're blessed in a lot of respects that our local health officials have done an amazing job keeping our infection rate low. It's relatively safe for people to get out of their houses and do some of these things as long as they're taking the precautions. So we want everyone to think about themselves and the role that they play in revitalizing and bringing some energy back to our community and bringing back, to the extent to which we can have it in 2020, a little bit of normal.
Right.
Hey, funny you mentioned that, Rob, comparing February, March to maybe just in the last week or so, because when I get off the air on the radio show, I'll go for a run, and I go through downtown, And in March, April, May, when really it was the peak of everybody having to stay home, you could run across every street without waiting for any red light or green lights. There was literally nobody there. And yesterday I went for a run, and I could tell more people are coming downtown because at a red light, before I could maybe wait for one car to go by, and I have to run around the back of it, because it's a red light. Yesterday I had to run like behind like 10 cars to go, back up to get on the same side of the sidewalk. So it's a visual thing, but you can definitely see that that's what's happening now.
No, you can feel it, and I think it's good, and I think campaigns like this are important to instill confidence. I think people look to those of us in the community for messages about what they can and they should be doing, and obviously we want people to be safe and take care of themselves and their families, but we want to remind people that we're still all in this together, and those businesses, those restaurateurs, they still need patrons in order to keep their doors open if we're going to hold on to what we had before.
Rob, what about, obviously with the pandemic, we haven't heard a lot of things about, 81. I just haven't read about it. You used to see it everywhere pre-pandemic. Just real brief, the status of 81. I know you've been involved with the, local city governments, and kind of where that project is looking or where it stands.
Yeah, so where that stands is really, everyone involved, I think, at the state level is trying their best, despite the pandemic, to move the project forward. My understanding is that the preliminary draft environmental impact statement, which was released, last year, which showed that the community grid was the state's preferred alternative, that draft has been worked on for the last 9 or 10 months. A lot of the input that was received from the community, including from CenterState, we offered the state sort of 10 points of enhancement to the community grid solution that we thought could mitigate some of the concerns of some of our suburban colleagues and other colleagues in the business world. The state's been working to incorporate as many of those as they possibly can. And I think they've done a really good job of it at this point. My understanding is that document is now down in Washington being reviewed by the Federal Highway Administration. And at some point, I don't know when, and I certainly can't speak for the DOT, but at some point in the future, that final draft, the draft environmental impact statement will be released to the public, which will trigger the final comment period, probably 90 days of public comment on what that final solution looks like, what impacts it will have. I'm a strong proponent of the community grid and have been for a long time, as long as the concerns that people have raised in very valid forms, as long as those concerns are mitigated in the ways in which they need to be. And I think they can be. However, I think it's really important that now, as we look at the economic carnage that has been foisted upon our community and certainly many communities across the country, the opportunity to drive a $2 billion infrastructure project in Syracuse is more critical than ever. Getting that money recirculating in our community through local contractors and laborers, subcontractors, road builders, housing builders, you name it, all the elements of this project can have a massive economic impact for us. And so I understand there are still people who vehemently disagree with the alternative the state's recommending. I understand that maybe the community hasn't always been completely on the same page. I feel like we've moved closer to a point where there's a well thought out plan that both moves our community forward as well as mitigates some of the concerns. We need that construction project. We have to set down our arms. We have to stop fighting, and we need to come and rally around the fact that that $2 billion project is going to be jobs for people in Syracuse. It's going to be money for small businesses. We can't afford to let that opportunity slip past.
Well, on that note, we'll keep an eye on that story. I'm sure Robbie will keep us up to date with that. But good stuff. And the CenterState CO website, by the way, a lot of great resources on there, including one, if you go to the business resources tab, and the third one down is start your own business. And I know a lot of people will be taking that opportunity, I think, after the pandemic to start a new project, and that's a great place to start.
Absolutely. Appreciate the plug, CenterStateCEO.com. I'm also, I want people to know that those who are still struggling with issues related to COVID and navigating the bureaucracy, we have a business reopening toolkit on our website that's been downloaded thousands of times. Is not just available to our members, but any business in the community that needs it in this time. We want to be there for our community as a whole.
So Rob, before we close, let's forget business and all the inspiration you have. Tell us what you like to do. Where are you from for some of the listeners? I know you love your little guy and your family. Um, you know, what goes through you when you're not grinding for Central New York? What do you love to do?
Yeah, the times where I'm not grinding for Central New York are few and far between. But when I find them, my passion, the passion, our family, my wife and I are both from upstate New York. She grew up in the Finger Lakes. I grew up in Utica, although my dad grew up here in Syracuse. We live here in the city. My son started third grade just yesterday in an all virtual, all online environment, which is a challenge to navigate, but we'll get through it. What fuels me is being up in the Adirondacks, hiking the high peaks. My son's 8 now. He's done 11 of the high peaks with my wife and I,
Wow.
which is great. We get out. Hopefully, we'll get out and do a couple more this weekend, as long as the weather's nice. So anything outdoors that doesn't require a motor, it's human powered. That's my thing.
It's unbelievable. And Gomez, when you think about what everybody's been doing, I've had more friends talk about the Adirondacks, Lake Placid, Thousand Islands,
Sure.
the other things to do in New York State is so true. Wineries, whatever, it's unbelievable. Well, thank God golf's essential, right, Rob? But the opportunities of the camping and just it's been off the charts.
We live in a great place, and I'm telling you right now, for as devastating the human impacts of the pandemic have been and the economic impacts, I think that Central New York is going to emerge in the long run a beneficiary from some of the trends. People are leaving bigger cities, and they don't feel safe and comfortable there in the ways in which they did because of all the density. And we're already seeing increases in home prices here because people are buying homes. They're moving here from other places. I can look out my front window right now on my street, and I've got 3 neighbors whose kids have moved back from New York City, Boston, and Washington, D.C., 2 of whom brought their significant others. And all 5 of those young people are now looking for full-time work in Syracuse. So they're planning to stay here. And I hear that from my friends, from my colleagues, from other business leaders. This is a thing. We're going to see some increase in our population, which we haven't seen, frankly, in 40 or 50 years. I think it's going to give Syracuse a shot if we can take advantage of it. And and I'm confident we will.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it. But, well, that's great. Thanks for being on this morning. Continued leadership, inspiration. We appreciate all you're doing for all our businesses and the economic region of Central New York, and appreciate it.
Thanks for all you're doing, Joe, and thanks to Gomez and Lisa for having us on.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Rob, thanks. And Joe, we'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Another Survive and Thrive with CH Insurance.